Madam Speaker, I rise to present to this House and to the nation a performance report on the public finances and the Belizean economy for the fiscal year 2023-2024, and to present the national budget proposals for the new fiscal year starting 1st April 2024 through 31st March 2025. Good morning, Honorable Member from Colette and my brother from Corozal North. You could give him some lessons. Today's performance report, quite by coincidence, comes at an opportune moment. A few days ago, on the 27th of February, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, issued a staff concluding statement following their annual review of government's fiscal accounts and economic performance. This review is commonly referred to as the Article 4 Summary Report. During this exercise, IMF experts met extensively with both public and private sector representatives. Those of us on this side of the House are especially pleased with the IMF report, not because we agree with the IMF's philosophy as such, but because, based on timing and status, their report provides independent verification that the policies pursued by this People's United Party administration are yielding unprecedented results for the Belizean people. The IMF statement confirms that this administration is on the right track. Let us start with economic growth. The statement projects 2023 economic expansion of 4.5%. This is on the heels of 8.7% growth in 2022 and 17.9% growth in 2021. These rates of growth average 10.4% over the last 3 years. Real GDP, the statement asserts, was 16% above pre-pandemic levels. Then there is the employment picture. With 183,000 strong labor force, unemployment declined from 14% in 2020 to 3.4% in 2023. In other words, for every 100 persons seeking a job, between 96 and 97 have been able to find some form of paid work. The IMF statement also reports that the public debt now stands at 66% of GDP. When this administration took office, the debt was as high as 132%. Imagine the previous Prime Minister was saying that he was going to grieve and he was going to weep for this government. But even though that the PUP is about work and about results. So that's why, Madam Speaker, in just over 3 years, we have literally cut in half what the country owes as a percentage of annual GDP. Inflation, the increase in consumer prices fell in 2023 to 4.4%, down from 6.3% in 2022. And crucially, the primary budget balance, according to the IMF, remains at positive 0.8% of GDP, positive for the third consecutive year since this government took office. What is equally impressive, Madam Speaker, is the IMF's forward-looking projections. They expect Belize's GDP to expand to 3.5% this year. They expect the unemployment rate to stay at 3.4% over the medium term as the economy remains at full employment. They expect inflation to come down further to 3.1% and to 1.3% over the medium term. They project further reduction in the debt to GDP ratio falling below 60% in 2028. And they expect a positive primary balance for the national budget in each of the next 5 years. There you have it, Madam Speaker. For sure, 2023 was an outstanding year for the public finances and for the economy. And the IMF's world's foremost multilateral examiner projects that Belize is on a path to ongoing prosperity, prolonged full employment, lower inflation and public debt, and a strong Belize dollar underpinning sustainable budget cycles into the medium term. There is no precedent, I dare say, in the almost 43-year history of independent Belize where so much has been achieved in 3 short years. And that the future augurs such confidence, stability, and progress. That's why they say pan truck. But there is something else, Madam Speaker, something we all know, that the ultimate decider or the best barometer are our amazing Belizean people. It was just 2 days ago, the Belizean people in our 9 cities and towns went to the polls and said with a clear voice that we want to stay on track. Our democracy is strong and vibrant, and I would like to thank all who voted and all those men and women who offered themselves as candidates in the municipal elections. For sure, 61 of 67 seats is a reaffirmation of Plan Belize. Let me repeat, 61 of 67 seats is a reaffirmation of Plan Belize and the people's confidence in this PUP administration. The people have spoken. The IMF has issued their statement. The national report card of sorts offers a felicitous stage from which I can now set out in more detail Belize's overall 2023 performance and the accelerating plans for the new budget year. During 2023, global economic growth slowed but remained resilient amidst multiple headwinds, including the Russia-Ukraine war, higher cost of living, tighter financial conditions, and extreme weather events. The IMF projected that global economic activity slowed to 3.0% in 2023 from 3.5% in 2022. For 2024, the IMF expects global growth to remain steady at 3.1%. Global inflation, a critical concern in these post-COVID years, is expected to ease during 2024 due to resolved supply-side issues and still tight monetary policies. However, the threat of new commodity price spikes still looms, owing to the continued geopolitical tensions and possible weather shocks. According to the Caribbean Development Bank, Economic growth in the Caribbean region also slowed down in 2023, growing by 5.7% compared to 10.3% in 2022. This figure, an average for the region, is severely bloated by Guyana's 40% growth rate, fueled by that country's petroleum bonanza. Despite the ongoing tourism recovery, the regional deceleration was mainly attributed to spillover effects from a weaker external environment and the impact on natural disasters. Growing projections for the region indicates an acceleration to 7.6% in 2024, again in no small part due to Guyana's 35% projected growth, and supported by the robust post-pandemic rebound in tourism and moderate increases in remittances flows from the region. Latin America's collective economy expanded by a modest 2.2% in 2023 and is expected to grow by a meager 1.9% in 2024. Petroleum is such a critical commodity since Belize imports all of our needs. We must therefore keep constant sight of this price volatility. The average cost of a barrel of oil in 2023 was US $74.64, approximately $17 less than 2022. Unfortunately, the 2024 projected price for a barrel is $82, which will be 6% higher than last year. Let me now set out the performance of the national budget for the current fiscal year 2023-2024. For the year ending 31st March 2024, government expects total revenue and grants of $1,438,756,876, which is $29.7 million higher than approved by the National Assembly. Here is a breakdown. Recurrent revenue, $1.418 billion, capital revenues, $6.2 million, and grants, $14.1 million. Government expects total expenditures of $1.49 billion in this fiscal year, with recurrent expenditures of $1.12 billion, capital expenditures of $378.2 million, and amortization payments of $126.8 million. The financing necessary for this budget year is expected to total $186.9 million. The primary surplus for the fiscal year is projected at $75.3 million, or 1.22% of GDP, significantly better than the $24.5 million originally programmed. The overall deficit in dollar terms is $60 million, representing 0.97% of GDP. Now, Madam Speaker, let me directly address the matter of the cost of living. One of the complaints I have heard most often while visiting Belizeans is the increase in the cost of living, or inflation. As I mentioned earlier, the projection is for inflation to level off and at least not outpace increases in wages. The inescapable fact is that domestic purchasing power has been eroded by an increase in international prices. This is an issue that Cabinet has grappled with constantly. I have listened to the anguish of Belizeans on this issue, and I understand their frustration. The dollar is just not stretching the way it used to. But this is not the fault of government. A recent in-depth analysis commissioned by government shows that 3/4 of the price increases Belizeans endure comes from imports. For example, government has no control over the cost of flour or fertilizer or a barrel of petroleum or steel for construction. Neither do we have control over the cost of shipping containers to Belize. What we have done to combat inflation is to put more money in the pockets of hourly wage workers. 42,000. 42,956 workers have received a $1.70 or a 51% per hour salary increase by increasing the minimum wage to $5 per hour. I knew this, they have this saying that, a rising tide raises all ships. What has happened to the labor market? And we spoke to it with the IMF. They're saying now that because the minimum wage has gone up, wages have been going up all across. Why? Because now call centers, when they were paying at $5 an hour, now they have to pay between $8 and $9 an hour as entry level. And then tourism, and the minister from Big Stock would always remind us, now because people are leaving their jobs working in the tourism industry to go and work at the call center because they're paying better, they also have to raise their salaries to be able to keep their employees. A few months ago, I was talking to Michael Bowen at the inauguration of Margaritaville Resort. And he was telling me the same thing, that he could no longer pay $5 an hour. His entry-level salary is again between $8 and $9. So because of that one bold decision that we did as a cabinet, I could remember the experts are saying, oh, we have to do a study. And then we're supposed to get contract to make them go study this. I remember the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry was saying, well, we support the increase in the minimum wage, but let us roll it out over time. This government made the bold decision to increase immediately to $5 an hour. Sorry? Yes, and we have increased the regulation of price control and get public officers to ensure that we try to hold on these prices as much as possible. But I'm coming to that. We reinstated the increments of public officers. And we have cracked down, as what we said earlier, Minister of Agriculture, we have cracked down on price gouging by greedy merchants. For example, as recently as the 28th of February, 35 businesses in San Pedro and Kikaka were handed citations by the Suppliers Control Unit for pricing violation. This campaign will continue, as will our campaign to buy Belizean products to make this country more self-sufficient. Cabinet and I will continue to take every step possible to control the erosion of the purchasing power of the Belize dollar. As I highlighted in my introduction, according to the IMF, the public debt stood at 66.3% of GDP, or some $4.335 billion. Never should we abstain from the memory of where this administration met the public debt. 132% at its peak in 2020, with the then UDP government borrowing $1 million a day just to meet the salaries of public officers. Today, the debt is projected to stand at 58% of GDP in 2029. And it was the government's good credit standing that allowed us to access the financing in 2023 to purchase the Port of Belize and return that prized asset to public ownership. That decisive move resulted in a rise in the domestic debt to $1.508 billion. External debt at the close of 2023 stood at $2.832 billion. In 2023, government paid $101.1 million in interest payments and almost an identical amount, $100.7 million in principal repayments. There are two very important debt conditions to highlight. First, the effective interest rate on the public debt is 2.3%, a rate that by any measure is spectacularly low. This low rate is not a stroke of luck. It is a result of prudent borrowing from only the most concessionary sources, namely multilateral and bilateral lenders. This government has recoiled from any form of commercial borrowing, conscientious always of minimizing the price attendant to public loans. Because of this diligence, interest payment on the public debt is not projected to exceed 2.2% of GDP well into the next decade. For emphasis, consider that the U.S. debt is at 2.4% of GDP on debt interest in 2024, 4.5% in the case of the United Kingdom, 5% for Jamaica in fiscal year 2022-23. The second notable condition is that interest payment in 2023 represented 7 cents of every dollar of revenue and grants. That figure is 17 cents in the US for 2024, 10 cents for the UK, 13 cents in Jamaica. The following examples of 2023 loan inflows reflect the highly cautious nature of this administration's borrowing approach. $95 million from traditional multilateral lenders, such as the IDB, the CDB, and the World Bank. $68 million in loans and grants from Taiwan, and $4 million from the QET Fund. Madam Speaker, many advances were achieved in 2023 by our teams at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, but one breakthrough demands special mention: Belize's eligibility for accessing funds from the International Development Association, IDA. Under the World Bank umbrella. It was unfortunate that Belize was not deemed eligible for these funds. But what is even more unfortunate, Madam Speaker, is that the previous government for 13 years did nothing to try to right this injustice for Belize. So after 2 years of non-stop lobbying, a few weeks ago, Belize's application for a Smile Island Economies was approved. Thank you. You could clap, you know. You could clap, you know. You could clap. Belize IDA borrowing allocation is immediately $22 million US, and with the potential to increase to $67 million US over a 3-year period, with exceptional terms of 40-year repayment period, 10-year grace period, and an annual service charge, not even interest, service charge of 0.75%. I must commend the perseverance of the former Foreign Minister, Yvonne Courtney, and Minister Chris Koyi, and their supporting cast for this great achievement for Belize. We do not, nor should we take for granted the stability of our financial sector. The strength of our Belize dollar, a 2-to-1 US dollar peg, established and defended since 1976, is a solid rock upon which our country's economic and fiscal edifice resides. 2023 ended with central bank reserves of $947 million, or 4.1 months of import cover, well beyond the 3-month recommended reserve levels. If I may again cite the recent IMF report, the financial soundness indicators strengthened in 2023. Between 2022 and 2023, the domestic bank's regulatory capital rose from 15.1% of risk-weighted assets to 16.1%. Non-performing loans fell from 6.9% of total loans to 5.2%, and returns on assets rose from 0.3% to 1.5%. Several major financial system modernization initiatives, spearheaded by the Central Bank of Belize, are worthy of mention. First, the National Financial Inclusion Strategy, which aims to equip every individual and enterprise with access, quality, and affordable financial services. In 2023, connection to the Shared Services Network, the SSN, to the Automated Payment and Securities Settlement System was effected. This allows for easier flow of payments among bankers and credit unions and expanded services to credit union members. Simplified customer due diligence guidelines was also put in place, and the credit reporting system project was restarted. Second, the central bank started a project with the World Bank to broaden the financial ecosystem and enhance the modes for quicker payments. This project will facilitate immediate availability of funds to the beneficiary, which will include individuals, businesses, e-commerce, or government agencies. I commend the Governor, the Central Bank's board chairman and members, and the bank's management and staff for their commitment to excellence. It is noteworthy that the Central Bank's economists entertain an even more positive economic outlook for 2024. They project that following 3 years of sustained growth, GDP for 2024 will expand by 4.1%. This solid growth level will be propped up by a full recovery in stayover tourist arrivals to pre-pandemic levels, a resurgence in agricultural production, and renewed manufacturing activity. The primary sector is expected to grow by 4.1%, improving noticeably over 2023's outturn. Agricultural production will see a pronounced upturn due to enhancements in husbandry practices, the expectation of near-normal weather patterns, and continued expansion in non-traditional commodities. Specifically, banana production will rebound as the industry reins in the spread of black sigatoka disease, while added contributions from the Western Mill will boost growth in sugarcane deliveries. Secondary sector activity is projected to grow by 4.7%, following rebounds in manufacturing and construction output. Benefiting from enhanced agro-processing activities, beverage and food production, manufacturing is projected to rebound sharply from a contraction in 2023 to a 3.0% growth rate in 2024. Similarly, heightened importation of building materials and institutional lending will prop up construction activity. Lastly, recovery from the previous year's downturn in domestic electricity production will support strong growth, further contributing to secondary sector growth. The tertiary sector is forecasted to grow by a healthy 4.5%, as total stayover arrivals for the year are projected to surpass the 2019 pre-pandemic levels. The continued growth in tourism will contribute heavily to growth in the transportation, accommodation, and retail trade sub-industries. Private sector activity is projected to expand, with BPOs remaining a main contributor to growth. Heartened by these glowing expectations, I will now outline the estimates of revenues and expenditures for the new financial year 2024-2025. Let me emphasize at the onset that once again, as has been the case for the last 3 national budgets, there are no new taxes in this budget. The Ministry of Finance projects total revenues and grants of $1.51 billion, comprised of $1.387 billion in tax revenues, $95.29 million in non-tax revenues, capital revenues of $6 million, and grants of $30 million. Revenues are comprised of $791.6 million collected from goods and services, $365.4 million collected from income and profits, $223.5 million collected from international trade and transactions accounting, and $7.17 million collected on property accounting. On the expenditure side, a total of $1.604 billion is proposed. Of this sum, approximately $1.1 billion will be recurrent spending covering wages, pensions, goods and services, subsidies and transfers, and debt service interest costs. In addition to recurrent costs, $430.7 million is programmed for capital investment during the new fiscal year, of which some $146.5 million are so-called Capital 3 funding drawn down from the various loans and grants already approved. $130 million is the amount projected for amortization payments. That is the repayment of principal on loans already contracted. The primary surplus is projected at $30.6 million, or 0.46% of GDP, while the overall deficit is projected at $85.842 million, or 1.3% of GDP. Let me put this in perspective for all of us to better understand the purpose of each dollar government spends. 30 cents of every dollar will be for the wages of public officers. 7 cents of every dollar for public officers' pensions. 18 cents of every dollar for operational costs to government, such as utilities and transportation. 7 cents for interest on loans. And the remaining 27 cents for capital expenditures, which includes the funding of all projects and programs undertaken by government. In effect, 73 cents of every dollar simply keep the machinery of governance running, leaving 27 cents of every dollar for programs and projects. Now, when we took office in 2020, the percentage of total spending available for programs and projects was at 23 cents on the dollar spent. In just 3 years then, we have managed to shrink government's operating costs by more than 5%, allowing more money to finance programs and projects that will benefit the people. Madam Speaker, ministers will have the opportunity to debate the budget proposals in granular form. And so I shall refrain from stealing their thunder, with the following exceptions. Please forgive me. I would highlight some of the larger capital projects, outline the program pipeline, and provide a more substantive description of our initiatives in the arena of healthcare and education. First then, to a sampling of the principal capital projects that will be included in this year's public investment program. Of course, these all line up with Belize's medium-term development strategy, as well as the overarching goals of Plan Belize. $35 million to fund the continued expansion of NHI. $3.5 million for hemodialysis support programs. $21 million to help fund the growing payables related to UDP land acquisitions. $10 million for the repair and maintenance of major highways. $7.5 million to support the ongoing expansion of solid waste transfer stations. $6 million for low-income homes and housing repairs. $5.7 million for another phase of the PSW Golston Highway rehabilitation. $4 million for the upgrading of the Guinea Grass Road, the paving of the road, Abimai. Yes. Not $5 million. That's just the start. Remember when. Blame the one beside you. $5 million for the improvement of the George Price Highway from Belize City to Bamapan and San Ignacio to Benqueville del Carmen. $2 million for the Progreso Road. We're just starting it, Honorable Member, and we'll do some more. We're going to pave the entire road all the way to Progreso. $3 million for grocery and food assistance programs. $2 million for sports. $2.5 million for land surveys. And $6 million for the upgrading of rural roads and bridges. $3 million for village streets. $7 million for upgrade streets in towns and cities. $4 million for the Lucky Strike to Mascal Road. $4 million for the anti-violence program. $1 million for additional equipment for the police department. $2.7 million for agriculture and sugar roads. And we have not forgotten you, Honorable Member from Toledo West. I still do the street, the road. Don't forget you. 90, we don't forget you. We will finish the road to Lubantun. Right? To Lubantun. This government like you one. This government like you. Huh? 19 projects. These and many other activities and undertakings will come from the basis of the $430.7 million that is being allocated. That is being allocated for capital spending in this fiscal year. The policy, planning, and climate finance units in the Ministry of Economic Development coordinate an impressive array of donors and lenders in support of building economic, environmental, and social resiliency for Belize. I wish to outline a few of the more notable aspirations, some of which occupy our current budget investment line, others soon to be endorsed by Cabinet and this Honorable House. First, the World Bank. There is the Belize Blue Economy Project. This $30 million project is for the improvement of Belize's management capacity for sustainable development of its blue economy and increase access to climate-resilient and sustainable water and sanitation services in targeted coastal areas. Second, and also with the World Bank, is the $129 million Belize Renewable Integration and Energy Resilient System project. This project will develop renewable energy generation to build our resiliency in electricity generation that can withstand extreme climates by strengthening the national transmission infrastructure. Third is the rudimentary water system upgrade for improvements to water supply systems in Shunush, Georgeville, Mahogany Heights, and San Antonio, Toledo. Again, members of this project, funded through the CARICOM Development Fund, comprises small-scale infrastructure works and capacity building for key stakeholders. Fourth, with the Inter-American Development Bank, there is a $40 million Skills for the Future program. The objective of this project is to contribute to the closing of the skills gap to prepare tomorrow's workforce for the fourth industrial revolution. We have to continue to invest in the development of our people, Madam Speaker. Fifth, also the IDB, is a $17 million project for improving efficiency, quality, and access in Belize's health system. The objective of this project is to improve the health of the population in Belize through increased efficiency, quality, and access to health services. Sixth is the Promoting Sustainable Growth in the Blue Economy Program, another project in partnership with IDB. This is a $14 million program to improve the income generation capacity of artisanal fisherfolks and to maintain export levels of fisheries products while contributing to the sustainable use of commercial oceanic resources. Then there is a $78 million project for building the adaptive capacity of sugarcane farmers in northern Belize. I'm sure the Minister of Agriculture will be able to give some more explanation. So, another see that on the Abby. $10 million, building community resilience via transformative adaptation. The Northern Burgess Key Wastewater Project valued at $300 million, where government expects to access the first 100 million Belize dollars in grant funding for the GCF. The previous government used to get grant funding, and they never know if to do with it. They used to lose the money. Remember when I get money for the hospital here in Bemopan from the EU? They lose money. Remember they had monies for sugar roads and to pave many of the roads up in the north? They never know how to use it. They lose it. And yes, that easy money because they could spend the money how they want. And then remember, Minister of Agriculture, the Agriculture Resilience Program, remember when we got in, it was, I think, $20 million that they were about to lose. The rural development. We almost lost it. I remember Dr. Marcelino Avila brought it to my attention. He said, if we don't move, we are going to lose this $20 million free money that the UDP had available in 2017. But they want to spend Petro-Caribe money because they don't have to give proper accounting. I wish you would know, Grafino. And there's more. The $20 million resilient rural Belize, remember we just talked about, to promote climate-smart agricultural production. The Building Community Resilience via Transformative Adaptation project valued at $5 million. Belize's second adaptation fund project was approved and will begin implementation in 2024. The first disbursement of funds was received on the 2nd of February of 2024. This project aims to build community resilience via transformative adaptation and specifically will work to improve Belize's long-term capacity to protect communities from climate threats posed by drought, unpredictable weather availability, floods, and improve wildfire management. And lastly, a project for the use of nature-based solutions to increase resilience to extreme climate events in the Atlantic region of Central America. Madam Speaker, further explanations of all these projects form a part of the text of the budget speech, and I'm sure that the individual ministers, when they present in 2 weeks' time, will be able also to talk and explain and give more in-depth explanation on these projects. Now, turning to my favorite minister, the Minister of Health. Turning now to health and wellness. Among the highest core priorities of this administration is the provision of health and wellness care and services. Based on this conviction, so many massive investments are being made across the public healthcare system. These investments include, for example, CABE's funding of a modernization assessment of hospitals in Punta Gorda, Orangewachtong, and Belize City. This needs assessment will be followed by project financing to implement the modernization projects. Only last week, accompanied by the AIR representative and our mayor of San Pedro, we broke ground for the new hospital in San Pedro and Berries Key. How many times did we vote the money in the National Assembly? Former Deputy Prime Minister could remind me. We bring this about 3 times in the budget that we're going to build, but it was never built. But this government, through the cooperative program with Taiwan, government will invest $33.4 million in a first-class, fully equipped hospital. As the saying goes, then talk, we work. That's right. Then promise, we deliver. Exactly. Say it, brother. Amen. And then there is the $90 million this administration has secured in concessionary funding from the Saudi Fund for Development for the construction of a tertiary care hospital here in Belmopan. The selection process for the design and supervision of this new facility will be completed by the end of this month, and a contract signed in April of this year. And this focus by government has itself inspired a number of private sector healthcare investments to the tune of tens of millions and hundreds of high-paying jobs. Expansions of Belize Medical Associates and healthcare partners in Belize City, and the recently inaugurated Hope Hospital in San Pedro exemplify these expansions. Perhaps the public healthcare program with the greatest potential impact on citizen wellness is the National Health Insurance Program. Let the record show that the NHI was started under the former Prime Minister Said Musa and the People's United Party government. And in the 13 years of the UDP government, they did very little in trying to expand this much-needed program. Well, Madam Speaker, I am thoroughly elated that the NHI program has been piloted on south side of Belize City and then the southern region, and has now been expanded to the Corozal district and now in Arinjuak district, where 20,000 Arinjuakeños have registered with the 3 primary care providers that have been contracted. These primary care providers in Arinjuak will be supported by 6 laboratories, 2 imaging providers, and 3 pharmacies, all ensuring that our citizens receive optimal care. And this year, the NHI committee proposes expanding the program to the north side of Belize City, where an estimated 65,000 citizens will be eligible for services under the NHI Care Shield. Altogether, NHI funding for the fiscal year 2024-2025 will total $35 million, encompassing the geographic areas of Corozal, Arinjuak, Stan Creek, Toledo, and the Belize District, including Key Corker and Ambergris Key. And we recommit that early next year, because of the $12 million in profits from Fui Bolido, the entire Cayo district will see the rollout of the National Health Insurance thanks to this PUP administration. Take the maths. 12 times 10, that's $120 million the prince in the bank, you know, for the first 10 years. And he may expect to make another $120 million. Remember for myself, you ever get some $120 million for your campaign? No? You never get it? No? Hmm? Which Taiwan? Uh-huh. You. Tech, you're beating like one man. Be a man. Madam Speaker, health is wealth, as the old adage counsels. Wealth for families, wealth for communities, and wealth for the nation. Complementing healthcare as a core responsibility of a compassionate state is the design and management of the education system. Yes, there has been a jobs bonanza, almost full employment for those who seek jobs. But our education system must prepare the society for tomorrow, even as it strives to meet the daunting challenges of today. Our minister and the Ministry of Education is therefore embracing far-reaching reforms. The minister, his team, and I hope all stakeholders recognize that the current legal framework governing the education sector is over a decade old. This year's education budget will specifically cater to the imperative task of conducting a comprehensive review and revision of existing education legislation, regulations, and policies. This encompasses a thorough examination of frameworks governing education councils, commissions, and boards, with the overarching objective of reforming the system to address the evolving requirements of Belize's educational landscape. There is also the recent extension of the compulsory school age, which aligns seamlessly with the ministry's objective of broadening access to education, particularly through initiatives like the Education Upliftment Project, Together We Rise. The Upliftment Project currently targets intervention and support to 9 government-owned secondary schools, catering for approximately 3,174 students. These include Gwen-Liz, Excelsior, Maud Williams, C.D. Vernon Technical, the Agricultural and Natural Resources Institute, ANRI, the Lille Academy, Georgetown Technical, Corazon Creek Technical, and Toledo Community College. In the budget 2024-2025, government plans to add 12 more secondary schools to the program. Increasing coverage to a target of 6,000 additional students. The 12 additional schools include Belize Rural High, Ladyville Technical High, San Pedro High, Belmopan Comprehensive, Mopan Technical High, Valley of Peace SDA Academy, Shunush St. Viator Vocational High, Escuela Secundaria Técnica Mexico, Belize High School of Agriculture, Arinjoac Technical High School, Bella Vista Government Secondary, and Julian Cho Technical High School. Madam Speaker, for those who are not aware, and I hope that the Minister of Education, when he speaks, can give a proper explanation. But basically, in these schools, the government is paying everything for these students, and there should be no reason why any of these kids should not remain in school. Our outreach to 21 schools will have a meaningful impact on more than 9,000 secondary school students at an investment of more than $10 million, an estimated increase of $6.6 million from the 2023-2024. The government's National Healthy Start Feeding Program is doing wonders in reducing hunger in the classroom. Along with its donor partners, especially Taiwan, the National Health Start Feeding Program caters healthy meals for 4,000 primary school students from 35 schools and 2,967 secondary school students from 9 schools. These figures equal an investment of around $20,000 per day in meals. The number of beneficiaries keep increasing throughout the year, and it is expected that by the end of this academic year, at least 50 primary schools will be part of this program. Finally, to address the growing demand for increased access to science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics training, STEAM, the ITSA STEAM Academy, a government-owned secondary institution, opened its doors to 64 first-farm students and 9 teaching staff last September. ITSA offers a high school diploma with key subject concentrations in areas such as sustainable development projects, digital arts, fine arts, and science and technology, along with other subjects from the national curriculum at the secondary level. And I urge the Minister of Education to explain more to the Belizean people, because this is a game changer of what we're doing here in Belize. Again, the UDP METAC and the PUP build this school. The target for 2026 is to have a population of 300 students at all form levels. I have previously announced that Belize was selected after a period of assessment as a beneficiary of the US government's Millennium Challenge Corporation. I now confirm that the Belize Compact Development Team, under the Office of the Prime Minister, has contributed to the preparation of a joint design document that defines the rationale and objectives for an education and energy project to be funded by the MCC. The projects were designed collaboratively with the Ministry of with the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Energy and Public Utilities and relevant stakeholders, and with technical guidance and financial support from the MCC. The projects are scheduled to be implemented in the 5-year period 2025-2030. The total grant, free money, the total grant for the implementation of both projects is estimated to be $125 million or the equivalent of 4% of GDP. We anticipate that within the trajectory of Belize's socio-economic transformation, these two projects will have sweeping, high-impact programs. As part of government's planned Belize agenda for the administration of justice, government will introduce legislation to address needed criminal justice reform. These include legislation for plea discussion and plea agreement, alternative sentencing, and the criminal records rehabilitation of offenders. Together, these measures will ensure a more efficient system for the timely disposal of criminal cases. It will allow for greater focus on restorative justice, It will provide offenders who have served their sentence, paid their debt to society, and have not reoffended to reintegrate into society without the stigma of a criminal record inhibiting them for the rest of their lives. Ensuring that persons who should not be in prison are not there is part of the responsibility of government. This is an important balance a government must ensure is kept. Madam Speaker, every national budget involves countless hours of analysis and review for everyone involved. It is a delicate dance. Putting limited money to best use is not an easy process, since there will always be purposes and projects that do not make the final cut. As always, we are grateful to the public officers, elected representatives, and other stakeholders for their contribution to this effort. This year, I'm especially proud of how much has been achieved with the resources allocated in fiscal year 2023-24, and even more so with the dramatic potential for the allocations we tabled today. The pride I feel is a result of the last several months of personal engagement with Belizeans throughout the 7 towns and 2 cities that elected their municipal leaders on Wednesday. Meeting citizens on the streets, in their homes, in their schools, at their workplace or their business locations, visiting clinics and hospitals and construction sites, I have been completely enthralled by the optimism and the resilience of our people. And that optimism is attracting huge investments in this country. Beltrade envisions investments valued at $850 million for this fiscal year. An unprecedented surge in private sector spending. The forecast spans the spectrum of activities, with the majority being in tourism and hospitality, but also manufacturing, offshore outsourcing, agriculture, and the blue economy, and the blue and orange economy. No government is perfect. None gets everything perfect. There will be setbacks and flaws, but this administration, over the last 3 years of tireless work, has rekindled the hope in our people. This administration has put the shine back on this jewel, a jewel that has been stained and smeared by those who preceded us. Not that one, yeah. He was rejected. This administration has aroused the best of our people. Indeed, no budget can touch every citizen, but our people can see and feel that the impact of these investments, the $1.6 billion government proposes to invest into the medium term, dollars that will touch their lives in so many positive ways, whether that touch is at a clinic or a hospital or a school, whether it is by positive conduct of a nurse, a police officer, or a public officer, whether it's the birth certificate or the passport or the social security card, whether it is a salary or pension or gratuity, whether it's a housing lot, the new street or drain, or the new highway, the machine of governance oiled by this national budget will touch the lives of all the citizens we serve in so many ways. On the global canvas, of course, this budget advances our status as an independent nation-state and fortifies our engagement with the region and the world. Madam Speaker, the UDP ran on successful election campaign where across our cities and towns they plastered posters saying PUP must go. We on the side agree wholeheartedly that the PUP must go on with the work of nation building. Wednesday's election results demonstrate convincingly that Belizeans today feel that the country is heading in the right direction. That's why our PUP candidates received 61% of the votes cast on Wednesday in municipal elections. 61%, even higher than the 58% our candidates received in the general election of 2020. Our party actually gained ground or defended our PUP share of the popular vote in 7 of 9 municipalities compared to 2021 municipal election. PUP gained in Belize City, in Corozal, in San Pedro and Burgosky, in Benquevio del Carmen, and in Dangriga. I must apologize in Orange Walk Central. We gone from 85% of the vote to 83% of the vote. In Belize City, the PUP gained ground in 5 of the 10 constituencies. We must go on from strength to strength in building greater confidence in our economy, in creating more jobs, in educating more for our children, in constructing more homes, in expansion of NHI, and in making our communities even safer. And so, I commend this budget to the National Assembly, satisfied that the Cabinet and I have been faithful to the guiding stars of social justice and national prosperity. This budget will underwrite another superb stage of our march to deliver on Plan Belize. And with the guidance of the Creator, we move ever forward as we stay on track. A pesar de todo, seguimos avanzando. I thank you.